Well, the review that this government policy was based on was chaired by Everald Compton, a well-known advocate for senior Australians. He joins me now from Brisbane. Everald Compton, thank you for your time. Let's just go back to your review and tell us a bit about what you discovered were the key barriers to hiring more older Australians in the workplace.
There are many barriers. One of them is an inbuilt suspicion by employers as to whether it's worthwhile employing people over 50 years of age. They feel that they're behind the eight ball. They're not up with modern technology. They're likely to get ill. A whole range of things that employers do. But there's also discrimination in the fact that even the Commonwealth Government has got a situation where there are 53 regulations in the Commonwealth Public Service that discriminate against people who are over 50, and that's being handled by Nicola Roxon now as we, at the same time. There's also a situation where state governments won't cover people over 70 with work cover. There's also the situation that older people, when they apply for jobs, have got to sometimes make 100 applications before they can get an interview. And every one that I've spoken to, I say, well, leave your age off and you'll get interviews. And that's exactly true. As soon as you put your age down, you don't get interviews. And some people who want to get in the workforce wait a year, 18 months before they can get a job, a lot longer period of time than people who are under 50.
Well, let's go through a couple of those things you raised there. What do the statistics actually show about whether older Australians are more likely to succumb to illness, are slower on the uptake with the latest technology? Is any of that true, or have employers just got this mindset?
Look, employers have got a mindset about it. Older Australians are becoming more computer literate every day. The number of people joining computer classes around Australia, there's far more people who are older than younger who are doing that. And the evidence is that older people are better employees simply because they're loyal, they come from a different age group, they don't take sickies, they're not going down the road every day looking for a higher paid job, they're not trying to get promoted ahead of someone else because all that's behind them. Their attitude is a good attitude, and we find them far more stable employees if they're given a go. But right now, they take 3 times as long to get a job quite often as those who are younger. And I reckon that Australia is losing out economically quite considerably by not giving them a go.
Well, I think you found that, in fact, the cost to the economy is in the order of $10.8 billion in the lost potential here, which is a staggering figure. Something else you mentioned there, though, was work cover. Now, if over 70s can't get work cover, you can understand an employer balking at hiring them. What's being done about that?
We have asked the cooperation of the federal government in our report to reach out to state governments and address this issue and endeavour to have it altered. I mean, I'm 80 years of age now, and I serve on a number of boards of directors, a number of panels, and do consulting work. And there's no way that I can even get private insurance, to cover me in all that. I don't know that that's a deterrent to employers. It's a deterrent to employees who think that they're, that they're discriminated against. And I think the sooner that that's rectified, the better, because the evidence is that older people work with far greater care than younger people and are less likely to have an accident that's going to cause them some problems. But there's a need for all state governments to get rid of this massive piece of discrimination, which isn't helpful to the whole process at all.
Now, let me ask you about the government's response. A $1,000 bonus for employers who put on an older worker. Is that going to make a big difference?
Well, put it this way, I don't think any employer is going to rush in because there's $1,000 there. That's not going to make them enormously wealthy. I think the whole issue of announcing this is a wake-up call to employers to say, well, look, let's look at the whole issue of senior employees. We're not going to lose by the situation, so let's have let's have a look at it. And I think that it's a start in a long process of overcoming the attitudes about ageing that are there. It's a thing which will stimulate. One of the other recommendations we've made to the government, which will be implemented, is to hold seminars right across Australia in all the capital cities and major regional centres where we meet face to face with employers and discuss what are the issues as far as they're concerned as to why they won't employ senior people, and how can we work with them to ensure that they can have this transition, and how we can even provide consultative services from government agencies to help employers get into this. And we hope that we can meet thousands of employers face to face right across Australia in that program. And as we see what sort of results we're getting, we can then implement other programs. We don't regard this first step as the total solution. We regard it as a very positive step towards the eventually realising the total economic potential of senior Australians.
Now, I've got to ask you too, the government's offering a $1,000 bonus for people who hire older workers for at least 3 months. Tony Abbott went to the last election offering a very similar bonus, a more generous one though, $3,250 if they hired someone for at least 6 months. Would that be a better plan?
Well, look, I don't want to buy into into a political argument. My job as chairman of a federal government panel is to be bipartisan in this, and when we did our survey right across Australia, we went to Canberra and we met all the political parties, including the coalition. We met with Bronwyn Bishop and Steve Irons and other members of the coalition, and we've tried to keep this out of politics. I mean, if it eventually gets increased to the Tony Abbott's figure, I'll cheer, but it's not my job to decide which is better than the other. The fact is the government's now implemented this. $1,000 was a figure that I recommended, knowing the budget circumstance that the government is in trying to get a surplus. I wanted to get a start. I'm sure we can get it increased as it shows its effectiveness, but the whole issue of ageing has got to be a bipartisan matter where the whole parliament says we're going to have an enormous number of retirees in the years ahead. Let's make them an asset to Australia, not a liability.
Because just finally, that's the whole point. While this will cost $10 million, the idea is to reduce the demand for the pension, boost productivity, get more people working. It's actually going to benefit the economy and hopefully the budget as well.
Well, in fact, I'm sure that the employees that come in under this scheme will end up paying income tax, which will partially at least cover this and all the other benefits that they have. The whole issue is that where people are in employment, they tend to keep better health. They don't use health services as much, and so there are savings all around the nation by having them involved.
All right, Everald Compton, we thank you for joining us this afternoon on what is an important topic, I'm sure, for a lot of Australians out there trying to get back into the workforce. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, David.